So in this segment, we're going to be talking about benefit scams worth £1 billion foiled during the pandemic, during the lockdown. Sorry, and this is a wild story because the people who managed to succeed and actually get some of this money, um, were foiled by not the DWP but a junior civil servant. So let's talk about this story. So, as much as £1 billion in benefit fraud has been prevented from being paid to organised crime groups in recent months. But before the scam was spotted, officials unwittingly confirmed thousands of identities had been stolen. Fraudsters took advantage of looser rules introduced to cope with the surge of universal credit claims during the pandemic. BBC News has asked the Department of Work and Pensions for a response. So wrong hands. So in May, a junior civil servant working with the high street banks noticed dozens of claims for universal credit had been made, asking for money to be paid into the same bank account. So this is, not the DWP figuring out. This is a junior civil servant working with the banks who probably by chance, spotted this. Further investigations identified more than 100,000 fraudulent claims. And officials admit they had confirmed thousands of people's identities to the gangs that had stolen them. So basically, it's a massive case of identity fraud here. And the fact is, the DWP clearly didn't do their due diligence here, and passed on their national insurance numbers as well. So you could see fraud on a mass scale with some of the information that's been handed out here. The Department for Work and Pensions wants to write to those whose data has been compromised. So this article's a few days old, about a week. So if you are on universal credit, just watch out for any letters you get in the post from the DWP about identity fraud. Maybe you're not with Universal Credit, maybe you get one of these letters, I'd love to know. But the BBC has learned it is struggling to identify many of them and is wary of sending out letters to last known addresses in case they end up in the wrong hands, exacerbating the data breach here. So the DWP here struggling massively to deal with this problem. Identity checks. So claimants whose identities had been stolen can face real hardship, as it can be months before their accurate benefits are paid. Currently, 5.7 million people receive universal credit, almost double the figure for March. To cope with the surge of identity checks were processed online rather than face-to-face, and information such as the cost of rent and whether someone has been self-employed is taken on trust. Clearly, the government need to hire more people have to hire more people to work for the DWP to deal with this stuff, because evidently they do not have enough people to process the information. Criminal gangs have attacked several government COVID-19 schemes. In May, officials told BBC News about 1.5 billion may have been lost to fraudulent universal credit payments. Last month, a National Audit Office report found as much as 3 billion may have been lost through the furlough scheme. DWP officials have asked the Treasury for 200 million over 3 years in this spending round, calculating would enable to prevent mass scams and save taxpayers around 500 million. So that's a done deal, as long as whoever's in charge of the DWP. I'm not sure who it is right now. As long as it's not Grayling, it should be all right. But that should be an easy choice to make, really. That if you're spending around 200 million to save around 500 million in fraud, that's about £300 million saving. And also you do speed up the identity checks and all those things for universal credit claims. It is estimated that more than 1 million claims for universal credit have still to be properly checked, with additional rising concerns. Tens of thousands of people may have claimed benefits without declaring they had received government grants to help the self-employed. However, the Treasury has turned down this request. Shock horror. What we can see from this is that the DWP are clearly in over their heads. That's probably the only term I can come up with here, but are understaffed to deal with the massive amounts of universal credit claims, especially since the government have pushed people that have been furloughed in Manchester and things like that. When they try to do the 65% furlough, saying that you can claim universal credit on top of this, when that creates a bureaucratic nightmare for both the claimants and also the DWP, who clearly appear to be short-staffed to the point where they're asking the government for another 200 million to help them out. And this situation could have been far worse here. This situation here could have been far worse. Forwarded by a junior civil servant by chance. And we can see from down here is that about 1.5 billion may have already been lost in universal credit payments, about 3 billion lost through the furlough scheme. So what we can gather from this is the government need more robust systems to be dealing with this. You could argue that it will take longer for the claims to go through if the DWP do more checks. Well, my solution is that you need to hire more people, and you need to make sure the people you do hire have adequate internet access and things like that, and are computer savvy enough to be doing these checks. The only other issue I have with this is with the address thing. I think for universal credit you do need proof of address anyways. And the other thing was, it's all being paid into one bank account. So surely this is something the DWP should have been able to spot anyways, considering they have your bank details on file. And it does mean that a lot of people have lost universal credit payments as well because of the DWP's failure to deal with this. So genuinely sad situation all round. And clearly, a lot of people have had their identities and data stolen because of the DWP. And so that's something they have to fix as well. I don't know, if they'll have to compensate people for this. It'll depend on GDPR rules, which I'm no expert in. I know very little about GDPR, but clearly the DWP need a lot of help because they're not doing the best job here. And I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.